Hello, welcome back to the Digressor. This is a special Christmas Eve episode, Christmas 2021. Almost said 2022 again.
We haven't gotten there yet. Please don't do that.
No. Last Christmas Eve, I did a special episode from work where I recorded with my very first guest. It was my coworker Sarah, and now I'm recording from my usual location from the house, and I have Emery with me.
Hello! Merry Christmas, everyone!
It's been a while since you've been on, even though time-wise it's been a while, but it was only like 3 episodes ago, because I haven't done a whole lot of them. So you haven't really been gone long, if someone who's listening to the, in order. But, yeah. So we were trying to brainstorm, what to talk about, and Emery came up with a good idea.
So, what is the strangest gift you ever received before for Christmas?
I'm trying to think. There have been some pretty weird ones, and I think you should go first. You don't have one?
I do. I'm just...
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
Well then, I honestly, I could think of one, but we agreed I wouldn't mention that one.
That one wasn't a Christmas gift.
That wasn't a Christmas gift. That was not a Christmas gift. It was just a gift. A gift that I would not mention to people because they don't understand us. Christmas-wise, I think the weirdest gift I've ever received was... Oh crap, I don't know. I don't really get gifts anymore. I haven't gotten... the last time I really gotten anything was, years ago. And so, okay, you go.
Well, I was gonna say, first of all, maybe something from your childhood that you were like, why am I getting this? Why is this a gift? Maybe that?
Ah, okay. So, yeah. So when I was 8, my grandma worked with Avon. She actually worked with Avon, the last 50 years of her life. And so a lot of her gifts came from Avon. And a lot of them were really good. But when I was 8, she got me a nose hair trimmer from the Avon catalog. I was 8! I didn't have any nose hairs at the time.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Okay. Wow.
Top that, Emery.
Honestly, I really kind of don't want to say mine, but okay, hopefully this isn't too inappropriate, but one year I did kind of receive a vibrator as a gift, and I was like, why? Why are you giving this to me? What purpose does this serve?
I mean, it does serve a purpose, but not
for
one,
me.
Yeah, for you wouldn't use it.
Yeah, I was like, what is the purpose of giving this to me? Are you trying to imply something that I don't know about?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I think that one tops mine, probably.
Oh. There was lube with it, too.
Oh, that's even worse. Because they actually, it wasn't just a gag gift. They actually intended for you to use it. Yeah. Wow. That is really awkward. Hopefully it was someone close and not just some stranger.
No, it was.
Okay, it just gets worse and worse the more you talk about it. Wow. Every time someone asks me what's the greatest gift I've ever got, let's move on to the greatest gift. I've gotten a lot of really good gifts, but the thing that always comes to mind is when I turned 15 or 16. It was when I was 16, I think. I don't know, one of those ages. For Christmas, my sisters and I, we woke up, we went in the living room, and all the presents under the tree, and there was a desktop computer sitting there, and I don't know, I thought it was for my sisters because they already had one, and they were like, hey, we want a new one, and I'm like, that's for them, obviously. And my stepfather was like, I bought you your own computer, and I'm like, what? My very first computer. It was an Acer. It had 2 gigs of space and like 250 megabytes of RAM. So it wasn't the best.
For that time, it was pretty good.
No, even by that standards, it was. I told my computer teacher and Coach Martinez, and he was like, "That's a piece of crap." um, but I was trying to be a writer, and that was good enough for text documents at the time. It was so slow that I put a picture of. I was dating this girl in high school at the time, and I had taken our picture, and I made that the desktop picture, and just that alone slowed down the computer so much I couldn't use it. I had to change it to like a solid color.
Oof.
That's how low the RAM was.
Oof.
I know. Yeah, that's your turn.
Okay, so for me, I would say, gosh, it's so hard for me to decide. I've like 1 year, yeah, when I was in high school. Actually, it was my first year of high school, and my parents gave me a cell phone because I was like all over the place all the time, and like they're like, you know what? Since you're never home like right after school because you have activities and stuff like that you have to do, we're gonna give you a cell phone. Just know that it has a tracker on it.
Ooh.
And I was like, wow. Like it was really nice too. It was like a LG white chocolate.
Oh.
So it was a really nice phone.
I wanted the chocolate.
And so that was my first phone, and I had it all throughout high school, all 4 years. And it was so funny because they like had it already set with like some phone numbers and stuff like that, right? Of course, my mom and my dad and my brothers and stuff like that. And then like they started like first they handed me the gift, and then it started like ringing, like this ringtone. But they had set it to High School Musical for me because I was kind of into that at the time. Which, if you consider the fact of like when it was, like it makes sense. But yeah, that was really interesting. But another one that I was thinking of was my first girlfriend or my first partner that I dated. Actually would probably be her because like it was like shortly before that we had decided, like she came out to me that she was gay, and I was like, oh, so am I. And I kissed her and ran off. And
you told me
yeah,
that.
and then later like she gave me a card, the sweetest card, telling me about how like she was so happy and all this stuff. And then she also gave me my the sheet music book for Wicked that I have.
Oh yeah,
that came from her.
Oh nice.
I've had it for that long.
Wow. Yeah.
So those are my favorite material gifts.
Yeah, I noticed that both mine and yours were our first big technology thing. Your first phone and my first computer. It wasn't the best computer. Like it was probably the worst computer I've ever had, but it was my first computer. And I remember that I wanted the LG chocolate, and you had the white chocolate. And looking back, my friend Mark had the chocolate, and it was a piece of crap phone, but you know it was a touchscreen phone. It was like an early touchscreen phone, and so it was like it was cool at the time, but like I wouldn't want it now.
Well, yeah, like now it's kind of like obsolete, but even so, like at the time it was very like kind of cool, I guess, to have because it was such a new technology. I didn't think it was a piece of crap at the time. Like it worked for everything I needed.
Yeah. Like at the time that Mark came over and showed me his phone, it was the Galaxy Sintra, which that was also a crappy phone. That almost turned me off the Galaxy altogether. But it was a better phone than the chocolate, and so I was like, oh wow, I don't want this phone anymore. And of course at the time it was like 2 or 3 years after the chocolate came out, so by then it was dated.
Yeah.
and I don't think it ran it before I realized, iOS and Android, like some of those early touchscreen phones didn't have those kind of systems. They were just kind of like LG had its own system that it wasn't that great. And like after I got my first Android, I was like, oh, that chocolate doesn't have Android on it. What's on it? It has its own OS on it. It doesn't. It's which that probably doesn't make any sense, but yeah.
But speaking of the chocolate, actually, because of the fact that my parents gave me the phone as a gift, they're like, just so you know, we can take it away at any time. So, one point, my parents found out that I was cutting class.
Oof.
And my
That
mom
doesn't sound like you.
Okay, so I was in high school, right? And then my mom was like, "Okay, tell me honestly what you were doing, and I won't be mad because like any excuse you try to come up with, I probably used it." And so I was like, I was honest with her. Then I was like, "Okay, I was in the girls' bathroom on the third floor doing homework for another class," and she just looked at me and said, "That's not how you cut class. You're supposed to go to the beach with your friends." And she was laughing.
That sounds like you. I was gonna say you couldn't cut class. That's not you.
I was like, but see, I couldn't go to the library because I would get caught. You need a hall pass to go to the library. Like you need an excuse from the teacher to go there. So there's no way I would get away with that. And like I was just bored in that class anyways. So my dad was upset. My mom was laughing. My dad grounded me and they took my phone. And then what did I decide to do? I snuck out to go to Bible study.
You said your brother did the last day of school.
Yeah. Wait, when he just asked for permission to so my brother asked for permission to cut the last day of school, and my mom looked at him and was like, "You don't have to ask for no one goes to school on the last day of school.
You don't ask
you don't ask to cut
you don't
school.
ask to skip class."
Like
yeah, that when you said you cut class, I was like, that doesn't sound like you. But you told me why you cut class. Like, okay, there it is. That sounds like you.
Okay, because I was super bored in that class that I was cutting. I was like, I know this material. There's no point in me being here as long as I pass all the tests, which I did. But I didn't really pass the class very well because I didn't turn in any homework. Because I didn't care about it. Because I was like, why? What is the point of homework except for to teach you the material you need to know for the test?
Is it history?
No.
Oh, okay.
History I actually went to every single one.
I know history bores you, so that's why I figured it was.
History never bored me. It wasn't that history bored me. It was just that I wasn't able to process and like learn the material very easily. Like my brain just didn't work that way to memorize history stuff. But I actually did fail like all of 11th grade history, and I had to retake it in summer school. And then I got so bored because I was like, I was sitting there and I was like, wait, this is like 4th grade level history. Like, why are we like what? And then I corrected the student teacher that was there at the time at one point. Because I got mad. He was like, "Oh yeah, this amendment is like when like people were given like these rights," and I was like, "Actually," and I corrected him. He got so mad. He was like, "Yeah." So I got in trouble for that.
Yeah, in trouble.
I got in trouble for that, and he looked later. And he was like, "I'm sorry for like putting you down in front of the class, but next time just like consider." I'm like, "No, you were wrong, and you." Used to be a lawyer, you should know your amendments. Like, I don't care.
Yeah, no excuse then.
I was just angry because, I was like, 16 at the time.
Yeah,
didn't really care about, 16 to going on 17 because
it's a song.
Oh yeah, it is. But yeah, no, I.
Wait, that white chocolate. Is that the phone that you had when we met?
I don't think it might have.
Because we met like the last year that you were in high school, like right before.
I mean, it was when we first like met, like talking.
Yeah,
that's the phone I had.
Yeah.
But when you first came to here.
Oh yeah,
in
no.
2011, it was a different phone.
Yeah, I mean obviously that because that was a couple years later. But like that, whenever our first call, that was the white chocolate.
It was.
Wow, that history behind that phone. You probably still have, considering all the stuff we found in this room.
Oh yeah, I do.
Of course you do.
I know where it is too. I'm not pulling it out.
Wow, the history on that phone. Um, yeah, I still have every phone from Ohio. It sounds like a lot, but there's like 3 phones, and I have them all. Even, okay, so the Galaxy S4 is the phone I bought in Texas when I moved. It was a week before I moved, and I didn't have a case. I was like, why do I need a case? And that phone is smashed to the point where the back won't stay on. Remember that one? I showed you. I brought it. My Galaxy S7 is still in pristine condition. And then the phone you bought me, which is the Moto X4.
Yeah, it was just a temporary thing.
Yeah, it was a temporary. It's still in pristine. I only used it for like 5 months. That was just so I had a working phone because the Galaxy S7 started to crap out because Samsung. It was perfect the first year, and then like a month before the S8 came out, they did this mandatory update, and every update after that, it started slowing to the point where it was unusable. It's like because they want. The funny thing is, it backfired for them. They wanted to force me to upgrade. And I did, just not to their phone. If it wasn't for that, I would have kept using it. I now have the OnePlus 7T, and I've had it for 3 years, not 2 years, because it hasn't been 2 years. It has been 3 years since it came out. The OnePlus 9 just came out, or earlier this year, so it hasn't been 3 years. But this phone is still perfect. Like, there's updates obviously, but like I'm still impressed. I'm always taking pictures. I'm like, look at this, it's amazing. So that's how you phone company.
No, you got to remember, because capitalism.
Oh, that's right. So I probably don't want to tell OnePlus all of that because then I'm like, I'm not gonna upgrade to the OnePlus 9 because there's nothing wrong with my OnePlus 7, and they're gonna be like, for now.
That totally would be your luck, actually.
Yes, it would. I wouldn't be surprised if now that I've said that they're going to do that. Someone at the corporate office at OnePlus is like taking notes, listening to this.
For me, actually, like I don't have all the phones because I did trade in a few of them.
Makes sense.
So I don't have all the phones that I've ever had. Which I'm kind of glad because I have enough stuff as it is.
Yes. This is not a visual medium, so you can't see.
You can still see the carpet. It's fine.
Kind of.
You can see the carpet. It's fine. Anyway, my goodness. Yeah, like I think, yeah, I don't think I've ever actually like full on broken, cracked a screen phone ever. Like in all the time that I've had a phone, like I save that I don't do it with this one. Yeah, but like every phone that I've had, I've never dropped it to where it got completely and utterly destroyed.
The S7 was only smashed from one incident. I dropped it on the hardwood floor. I'd had it for 3 years. I dropped it like a few months before I was planning on an upgrade to the S7. I dropped it on the hardwood floor, and the screen shattered. And but it was still functioning. Samsung knows how to make a product because even like the touch buttons at the bottom, they were gone, but still functioning. However, an iPhone, it gets a little chip on the side, and you have to replace the whole thing because it doesn't work anymore. And,
reason number who knows what why I never want an iPhone.
I only want iPhone for one reason, or 2 reasons: Siri and Apple Podcasts.
That like so we've gone down quite a rabbit hole here.
We have.
I'm fine with that. What is the weirdest gift you ever gave?
Ooh, weirdest gift I've ever given. Wow, yeah, that. Okay, so do you remember Sally at Frisch's? She was one of my favorite people there. So I know I was singing Baby Shark one day at work, and I like performed it for her, and she thought, oh, that's a cute song and it's adorable. But like a week later, she got okay. She's like the most pure person ever. I've seen her get mad twice.
That was one of them.
Yes, the other time was someone at corporate came in and criticized her hard work, and they called her lazy, and she's like, definitely not lazy. But like the other time she got mad was that a week later she still had Baby Shark stuck in her head. And I was started singing it again, and she goes like, "Don't you sing that! I will slap you!" And then like everyone was like, "Sally!" So that year for Christmas, as a gag gift, I bought her a Baby Shark plush. She was not happy.
Wow. Okay. Gosh, now I have to think of the weirdest gift I ever gave.
And it was your idea. I thought you had an idea.
Yeah, no, I've given quite a few like things over the years.
Bonus one. I got one from you when I was still in Texas. You remember the dog food?
Oh my god. I forgot about that.
Emery used to send me food when I was in Texas, like Asian food that I can't get here, and get there in Texas. And one of them was a little thing of dog food, the wet dog food. And I was like, "Am I supposed to eat this?"
Yeah, no, that was completely a joke.
Yeah.
But it was totally worth it for your confusion.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to eat this because there was like seaweed and stuff that I normally would not eat, and I.
Yeah. But one of the other things that I did. Okay, so there was one year where I was Secret Santa with this person, and I decided to do the box in a box in a box thing. And then there was a package separate from the box in a box in a box that had the actual gift. So the one that was box in a box, like, it had a layer of like candy in one of them, and then it had a layer of like random like little toys and all this stuff. And then like in between at one of them, I just used toilet paper to pad it. And then I said, "It's still usable." Yeah.
There was one. I didn't do this, but I totally want to do this at some point. I saw it in a YouTube video. Somebody it was like their niece's birthday or something like that, and they unwrapped their gift, and there was a Nintendo Switch box, and she got excited, and the person that wrapped it was like, "Don't get excited, I didn't have another box to use, so that's just the box I put the gift in." And they're like, "Oh, okay," and so they opened it up, and it was actually a Switch.
Yeah. See, I've actually used boxes with the intention of it not being what's inside it. Like, you got that from Lindsay before, right?
Oh yeah. Okay, so our friend in the UK, Lindsay, she sent me a care package, and she said, "I have a special surprise for you." And
I think it was the chocolate.
yeah, and I opened the box, and there was a Nintendo Wii box, and I'm like, "Oh, Lindsay, you didn't!" And I opened up, and no, she didn't. It was full of gifts, like food and stuff. But yeah, I got excited. I saw the yeah. That's probably where I got that. But no, I did see a video where that happened. But that was funny.
Yeah, last year when I was in treatment, for Christmas, which really sucked.
Yeah.
The staff that was working with us, like, she went out of her way and like made us like this gift thing where, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's basically like there's like an object inside wrapped in saran wrap, and then like another object, and it turns into this giant ball with different stuff in the layers of saran wrap.
Oh wow!
And it's really neat. And like, so between me and the two other clients that were there, like, we just did it, and like we were supposed to keep the thing we got, but instead we were like, let's just pull it together. I kind of want that one instead. You want this one, so we just like did that.
Something similar to that that happened to me. if you listen to my I think it was episode 36, my health, and you remember when after I spent time in the hospital, I lost the use of my legs and had to go to rehab and relearn to walk. Well, while I was in there, it was also during Christmas. It was 2015, and this guy dressed as Santa came and it was gave me and my roommate in the room gifts, and I got a Cincinnati Bengals hoodie, and he got a I don't remember what it was, but
You traded?
yeah, I'm not into sports, and he's like, oh, that's my favorite football team, and I'm like, I think it was a scarf or something. It was
might have been a scarf.
something, and so we just traded.
Yeah. So we didn't actually necessarily trade. We just like pulled it all together and like separated it kind of evenly between us. And the staff was just like, you guys are supposed to, like, you guys are too nice for this. Because we were making sure like each of us got evenly kind of like thing instead of like, you know.
Nice.
So it was, yeah, that was really fun. And then, like she also just, I don't know, that like she was so sweet. Like I hope that she's doing well, like the staff, because she was amazing. Like the kindest person, and she gave up to be with her family to be with us.
Oh wow! I just looked at the post on Facebook. I got the sweater and I gave it to him, and he got pajama bottoms and gave it to me. So that's what that was. But you also reminded me when you said that they're too nice for this. It reminds me of Deanna and I. Like one day we were in a call years ago, and she's also one of the sweetest people ever. And she's telling a joke. She goes, "Knock knock." I said, "Who's there?" And she goes, "Interrupting cow." And I said, "Interrupting cow who?" And she goes, "Moo." And I said, "You're supposed to interrupt me." And she goes, "I think I'm too polite for this joke."
Yeah, that was really pure. Like honestly. Yeah, so one of the oddest things I experienced though, I think, well, so it was shortly before Christmas. And I was probably in like middle school at the time. And this is actually kind of an embarrassing story, but whatever. So basically we're like hanging up ornaments and all this other stuff, like me and my friends on the tree and having a good time, and all of a sudden there's a blackout. Because of course there was, because back then there was a lot more like storms and like stuff like that happened all the time. Like we were used to it raining a lot. So it wasn't too surprising when we'd get blackouts because it happened so frequently back then. But at a certain point, so later we're just like together and we're playing board games together because that's what my family did when there was a blackout. We'd sit at the table together and play board games together when there was a blackout. And then at one point, I just hear this thing going off. It was my alarm clock. And my alarm clock was set because one of my friends has been messing with it and accidentally pressed it. So that way it went off at a certain time and she had turned the knob. She didn't realize. So, but I was like, yeah, you turned it on, so you have to go upstairs and get it and turn it off. Because I was not about to do it. And she kept going and stuff like that. And she was like, it's so scary though. And she like complaining the whole way up. And that I missed that alarm clock because it was so obnoxious and it was so adorable at the same time. I loved it. It's saying like three different songs as the wake up alarm, and then when you press it, it's like good morning. Yeah.
Aww.
So later that night though, I realized I needed something upstairs and I didn't want to go up alone. So my friend is going with me, right? And we're going up the stairs, and partway there, all of a sudden, from the corner, my brother jumps out of his room and goes, oogly boogly. Like super like monotone, super like casual. And we scream as he's holding the like human-sized Yakko doll from Animaniacs. Yeah. And he was holding that, and he just did that. And we both screamed, and then we started like laughing at each other after for some reason. And then I just remember going, stop laughing, you're gonna make me pee myself.
What happened to the Yakko doll?
Oh, he's still around somewhere.
Oh, I would like to see that at some point. That just sounds hilarious.
Oh, he's kind of
deteriorated
now.
I misspoke. Deteriorated. Yeah. Meh. I kind of have a similar story. So I have kind of a funny story about my dad when we were kids. When my cousins and I were kids, my family lived in a small trailer, and at Christmas we all were running around the house. My dad was chasing us with a drill, with the drill bit in it, with the long ones that can drill through stuff, because fun.
It's not fun.
And so he could have killed us at one point, because we ran into it was me and like 5 of my cousins, and we ran into my room, and my cousin Billy leaned against the door. My dad drilled through the door, and the drill bit came like within inches of hitting Billy. So
that would have been a disaster.
That would have been a disaster. Yeah, it was already memorable as it was, but it could have been even more memorable.
Yeah, that's horrifying. It just like, okay, I'm going to Halloween now. We used to.
Might as well.
We're at horrifying now, yes. So may as well. We used to like have this thing where like every single year when we were passing out candy and stuff like that, right? My brothers were there too, and like we did it as a family thing, like going trick or treating and also giving out candy. And at a certain point, I was like at the top of the steps, waiting for the kids to come up to get the candy, and then some of them ran past because my brother was at the bottom of the steps, head down, hood over him, and like he wasn't moving or anything, but it just scared them so enough that they ran past. They're like, no. And I was like, come back, it's just my brother. Like, I was really little at the time, so I didn't. I was just like, yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
It was more to scare away the teenagers. Like, oh. So, like, if they were, like, messing around too much or something like that, he'd just, like, stand up and, like, scare them.
Halloween was always, like, really fun growing up. I would, like, my mom would usually make the costumes. I remember one year in particular, for some reason, I wanted to be a ninja. I don't know why. I wanted to be a ninja for Halloween, and she actually made the entire costume from scratch. And, I remember that, and I also remember I didn't think to wear anything under it.
Oh no!
And it was very cold that night. It was just like it was a thin material, and so like I'm sitting there freezing, and then every year for Halloween, my church. Speaking of phones, every year my church would go to this recreational place, and we would have like a Halloween party there. And my mom dressed like a cat, and she had like these long claws, little attachment fingernail things, and they had finger food, and she would like stab it with her fingernails, the claws, and eat it. It was funny.
Yeah. One of the costumes that I actually had, that my parents made for me was I was supposed to be like Wendy from Casper Meets Wendy,
oh, yeah.
in a hot air balloon where. Like, so they had like this like kind of like box around me to be like the hot air balloon, and attached was a giant Casper above me, and all these kids would be like, Casper, and they start chasing after me, and I got so scared. And I was like, no. Yeah, and so I'd like start running away. It was a whole thing.
So Raina, she's my sister. She's also one of my best friends. I remember it was Halloween '99 because that's the year Star Wars: Phantom Menace came out. That's important because my favorite character, and I think everyone's favorite character from that movie, was Darth Maul, and I wanted to be Darth Maul for Halloween. And Raina did did my face makeup, and it they took a picture, and I could show you the picture, but all I have is a picture of the picture after the album got water damage, so you can't really see it. But yeah, Reina is, to this day, she's really good at that. She did my my nephew's face makeup, and they looked really good this year. And so she's always had that talent, apparently. And we were discussing that at Halloween, and when she sent me the pictures, I'm like, that reminds me of. She goes, I remember that.
Yeah, I've never been fond of having makeup on.
I didn't like it.
Yeah, no, I didn't like the way it felt. And also, I think I was traumatized to wear makeup in general because when I was a kid, when I did wear makeup, it was for my dance recital. And Japanese dancing requires a lot of makeup for the recitals.
The pictures downstairs, yeah.
So I'm talking about like this layer of beeswax and then like the white makeup and then like all this other stuff like all over. And so like a layer of beeswax on your face is so uncomfortable. And after that, I could not do makeup.
Yeah, they have pictures of it in the living room downstairs. The closest thing I could think of that everyone would recognize is the matchmaker scene from Mulan. Except, different because it's not the same thing. But that's the closest thing I could think of. It doesn't come off. I already know from experience that it doesn't come off as easily as Mulan's did. She just wiped her head, wiped with her sleeve, and it came off. Like, that's not how makeup works.
Especially when you have the beeswax and everything like that, it does not come off that easily. Like, you have to like have this like special way to like scrub it off and stuff like that. And it was so uncomfortable. And I mean, I loved dancing. I did. But I just hated the makeup. I always did. I was like, do I have to? Like, and Hanayaki Sensei was always like, yes, you have to. Like, my mom would be like, sorry, Hanayaki Sensei's in charge. So we had to wear it. And that was the one thing I despised the most about dance, actually, was just how we had to wear makeup for it. At least with my other dance class that I did, we didn't have to wear makeup. But, well, I mean, we did sometimes, but like it wasn't the same. So I was like, okay, I guess this is okay,
Yeah. Something I never asked you before is, are you still able to dance?
Probably.
You never tried?
I'm a little embarrassed too.
What about um
I mean, I kind of want to go back into it somewhat. Like, I want to go to a dance class and like just do it with other people, but I don't know. Or it's been so long since I've done something like that. I'm kind of embarrassed, and like it's like even alone, like I feel like uncomfortable with myself. So I'm just like, no, I don't. Like, yeah.
You're multi-talented in so many things. I feel like you could, if you wanted to and you really wanted to, and like you tried to get back into it, I think you could pick it right back up.
Maybe. I don't know. There's some things. Yeah. We also did like with that we for one of the dance classes, it was like we started out actually doing gymnastics and then we turned it into a dance class somehow.
Oh, that makes sense.
After a few years, it turned into a dance class. I don't remember how that series happened, but it did.
It kind of makes sense though.
And I thought it was really fun at the time, but I was so awkward. Like, whenever it came to like improvising, say that, I didn't know what to do. And I was like, everyone else knows what to do, and I don't know what to do. And I was,
So you're better at like choreograph stuff.
Yes. But when I'm not good at freestyling things and stuff like that. Like, I'm not good at the improvisation. And I think that's probably because, like, being autistic, like, I feel like that had something to do with it, the fact that, like, I didn't match what everyone else was doing and I didn't know how to, and I felt like I was too awkward just trying to do something without instruction. It confused me, and
Mm-hmm. Did you know at the time?
Nope. No idea.
When did you find out
that I am autistic?
Mm-hmm.
as an adult.
Uh, yeah, I hear that stuff like that. You find out when an adult, it's harder to. I didn't find out I was dyslexic until I was 22, and usually when you find out when you're a kid, you can deal with it then and you can like overcome it. But like when you find out as an adult, it really is makes things harder.
I don't know, like for me, it actually was kind of relieving in a way to find out though, because I was like, it made so many things make sense. Like just how I was so confused by sarcasm until I was in high school.
I found that out the hard way.
I I'm better at it now.
Yeah, like
But
you
like
still get confused, and I have to explain jokes to you.
yeah, but like when I was like in high school, like everyone would just be not want to be with me because I would take things too literally and too seriously. And they're like, you need to lighten up and like not take things so personally. I'm like, but you're saying mean things, and I didn't understand until like one of my friends was like, no, that's because it's sarcastic. It means that like they don't really mean what they're saying. I'm like, how can you tell? Like it's just
Yeah,
it didn't make sense.
we kind of had to meet in the middle with that because you are better at understanding like sarcasm now, but at the same time, like when it comes to stuff like that, I used to go too far. So like I have toned it down a lot over the years since we've known each other. So like we've helped each other meet in the middle. So yeah,
Yeah. It's an interesting experience.
yeah,
Um, but even so, like, even if we had discovered it when I was younger, like, I don't know how much of a difference it would have made. You know, like, I would, because I was fine in like school and everything like that in most aspects of like education. It was just the socialization that I didn't know how to do, but like I somehow made friends, but that was from masking, from like copying and imitating others because I was like, oh,
yeah,
like, because I was like, that's how you be normal. This is what I'm going to do, and I follow that kind of like, and I also kept to myself a lot too, in a way. I remember being the TA for the grade counselor in middle school, and sometimes the kids would come in and they'd be like, oh, hey, stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, what happened this time? And they're like, oh, this other person did it. And they'd like be blaming everyone else. Now, like, on why they were like in the counseling office or why they were late to school or whatever. It would always be someone else's fault. And I sat there like, it probably has something to do with you too, especially considering this isn't the first time I've seen you in here. But I'm going to keep that to myself because I probably have to go to high school with you. That was my literal thoughts. So,
yeah. That is a smart move, especially if you have to be around them all the time.
but they really liked me for some reason. I guess because I never seemingly judged them. Since I didn't really respond, I was just like, oh, that sucks, and like I kind of just responded in a way where I was like, without actually saying what I really thought. But to them, it felt like validation, and so I think that's part of like where I started learning that too. Was like, okay, if I just like say something that like lets them know that like I understand or like I know what they're feeling, like then they'll like me more, or they'll things like that. That's what I was. So yeah.
yeah, that makes sense. That's a skill that a lot of people don't have. It's like the other day, I was having like a really bad day. I was agitated and everything. And then one of my friends was like, just constantly messaging me like like screenshots of the game she's playing and updating me. And like, we do that all the time. Like, I'll send her pictures of the games I'm playing and I'll tell her about it. And she tells me the game she's playing. It's just at the time, I wasn't in the mood for that. Most people, like that happens to me all the time where like I'll be telling someone something and they're like, I don't give an F right now, I'm not in the mood for that, and then it just kind of makes things awkward between us. And I've learned from that experience, I just didn't respond to her until later when I was in a better mood. And so I mean that's kind of like what you were saying, like you didn't respond to them and it didn't make things awkward.
I mean, I did respond to them. It's
But
just
like in a negative way, the way you
yeah,
were feeling.
yeah. I just because I didn't like confrontation back then either.
Yeah, I mean me neither.
Um,
think that's why we get along so well. We don't fight often. We still fight. It's just we hold off until it explodes.
That's not healthy.
I know.
Anyways, yeah, I. It's weird because, like, thinking back, I wonder like, how I just managed to get through things without, like, having mental breakdowns and stuff like that. And then I realized, oh, dissociation was a thing,
Yeah.
Like, that's why I was able to get through this stuff because, like, with that, that was how I coped, and that was what got me through school, and what got me through, like, being able to function every day. And when I was in college, I know, like, my therapist was even like, you know, you probably shouldn't be in school right now. I'm like, but I'm getting straight A's. She's like, that's the problem. Because I was, like, feeling really low and stuff like that, like, really depressed. And she was, like, concerned about me because of how depressed I was. And instead, I was just like, no, I'm going to get an A on this, whatever. Like, I have to pass all these classes. And if I die tomorrow, that's fine. But if I don't, I still have to turn everything in. So, I have to make everything perfect. That was my logic. And
yeah. Wow. Yeah. I do remember that. Like, okay. So we had some technical issues, and I had to start recording again because it like crashed and everything. But I checked, and luckily it saved. We had a tense moment there. We weren't sure if the recording saved, but luckily it did. But anyway, back to what we were talking about.
So I kind of forgot what we were talking about, but I'm just going to go on to this next question that I had, which is, what is one of your most memorable, like, experiences from, like, the holidays and stuff like that?
Oh, let me think. Okay, 2009. I told you about that, right? What happened?
Maybe.
Okay, it was the last, like, actually good Christmas. Okay, so I actually use it as a, like, before and after type thing. Here's the before, how Christmases were with my family, was Christmas Eve. I lived in Abilene. My family lived in Merkel, and they actually picked me up. Oh, in Texas, by the way. That's like 30 minutes apart. They picked me up Christmas Eve morning. We spent the day together. I stayed the night at my parents' house. And Christmas morning, we all woke up, and there was a lot of presents under the tree, and we opened them, and stockings and all that. It was fun. My grandfather, my stepfather, grilled out. He, because Texas gets hot in December. We have Australian Christmases because it's like summer, and so for Christmas he would usually grill out because Texas, and then the thing that makes it the most memorable, like besides all of that, is we decided to go to a movie, and we went and saw Tron Legacy. I actually that's a callback to my last episode because Tron Legacy soundtrack was on the list, and I talked about that. My family and I went to go see Tron Legacy in the theater, and I don't remember what I said about it in the episode, but yeah, I did. It's a callback, unintentional callback. But then yeah, like we went and saw that. We went to Sweetwater where my uncle and aunt and grandparents were, and that was fun. And then like late that night, they dropped me back off at my apartment. And yeah, it was like a 2-day event where we just like nonstop fun and everything.
Mm-hmm.
That was 2009. Fast forward to Christmas 2013, and it was basically just they picked me up Christmas morning. We go up on a couple presents, and they drop me off. Felt more like we were just formality, just following the motions. Like we're supposed to do this. So that's why I say like 2009 is the last like real Christmas I had.
Mm. Yeah, for myself, one of the things that I thought was, like, really kind of, it was always about my grandmother. Like, she loved Christmas, and she also loved New Year's because New Year's is when you get to, like, campfire and stuff like that. And so, like, it was a big thing because New Year's for us is pretty bigger than Christmas. But my grandmother enjoyed Christmas, like, every single year. We always had to go to the Hallmark store so she could pick up her yearly ornament that had the year on it. And she would get all the cards, like all these really, like, sentimental cards and stuff like that for everyone. And my mom would always like, whenever she looked at cards, she always got the ones that were like kind of joking and stuff like that. But
sounds like your mom.
Yeah, but my grandma was always like, no, that one's like you can't do that kind of thing. So anyways, like I would go with her to the Hallmark store and she'd pick out the cards and all the stuff. She'd get her yearly free gift from the Hallmark store that they give for like members or something like that she had. And then, yeah, for in the stockings, like every single year without fail, there was like an orange.
An apple.
No.
Oh.
There was an orange in the stocking in the very bottom. And then there was like some candy of some sort, usually like the Lindor chocolates.
Oh, wow.
Like she would put those in there. Like she loved those chocolates. So she put those in there. And there would just be like little stuff. But it always had the orange and the Lindor chocolates. And that was just like, I don't know. Sometimes there was like M&Ms too or things like that. But it was just really funny that it always had the orange. Like, what?
Like, my family stockings, like every year since I was a kid up until even that 2013 one, there was a candy cane or two, an apple and orange, and Hershey's Kisses, and then there was like a specialized gift for each of us. Usually, like for me, they would put like shaving cream and stuff like that, and I'm like, what are you trying to tell me? Like, okay, so like with deodorant, I've never bought deodorant, but I've always had it because people are always giving it to me. It's like, what are you trying to tell me?
Oh dear. Yeah, so like I think that for me that was just one of the things, like, you know, the time we got to spend with my grandma, and like she made it like so much more fun, you know? And after she passed away, that was hard, but then we were, you know, we also had like Nora, like she came like a half year later after my grandmother passed away. So just after Christmas, like it was the beginning of end of January, beginning of February when Nora was born, right? So from that, like after that, it started to become more about her, which made it better because, you know, we didn't have the kids or anything like that really anymore. Like, you know, we had my cousins and stuff like that, but we always kept it really small. Like it was like our family and then my mom's brother's family, and like we just combined them. Like, you know, family gatherings there'd only be like, you know, let's see, like 12 of us.
It's like how Thanksgiving was. It was like 8 of us.
Yeah, it's usually like around like 10 to 12 of us, or usually more than that. But like I just remember one time we went to a restaurant and they asked how many, and my mom said only 10. And because for us that was small for. She didn't even realize what she said until after the fact, when the person was looking at her in horror, like, what do you mean only? Yeah, so that's our family. But we really did have good times, like, as a family, which I really appreciate. I
always told you I hope you realize you're lucky.
Yeah, and I mean, I've always been pretty grateful for my family for the most part. Like, I know that a lot of other people don't have like families like mine where like a lot of other families, they just like start arguing and everything like that over finances, over
politics,
who gets all the different things. And for us, we're just like, you know what, family kind of comes first, and that's what matters. And you know, we help each other. And this Thanksgiving was amazing because that was the first time I ever heard my mom say, I'm so grateful to have you as a brother to my uncle. That was the first time she ever said that out loud. And that was the first time he responded back to that, like, I'm glad to have you as a sister too. Nice. Like, they never did that before. So, yeah. And we are hearing about other parts of the family that are like crumbling apart, basically.
Yeah, I actually joined them for Thanksgiving this year, which I was not expecting. I was planning on
Being alone.
like staying home and watching like YouTube or something. But then like their mom was like, "You will be joining us for Thanksgiving," and I'm like, "What?" And so like we went and I actually joined them. There was like 9 of us, I think, total.
Yeah, it was
And
pretty small.
yeah, and there was they did a family photo, and I was just kind of I was trying to stay out of the way. I was like, I don't want to be in the I don't want to like get in the way. But then like their your auntie actually
My
like
great aunt, yeah.
yeah like motioned for me to join. I'm like, wait, me? And everyone's like, yeah, join us. I was like, what? I went and stood next to you.
Yeah. Yeah, we tend to treat a lot of other people as family because, like you just never know what someone's going through and you never know how they feel and like to be included is really important, so like of course we're just like no, like you're joining us because it like we don't want someone to have to be alone if you know it's just that's what family is to us, like we like everyone is kind of family in a sense, and it's so hard to watch some of my family like crumbling apart like because of just really petty arguments.
I
And
remember some of them, and I'm like, you were telling your grandma over the phone like some of the stuff that was going on. I'm like, they're fighting over that, and I was like, that's not even something to like lose family over.
yeah, and I'm just really glad that like I have the brothers I have, that I have the cousins I have, because we we have the understanding of like if one of us needs something, we will try to do something about it. Like we're always trying to support each other and build each other up. And I feel like that's what family's supposed to be. And it makes me sad to know that like a lot of people don't have that.
Yeah, it's like I've been telling you, you're my family.
Eh.
Well, I mean, you're like the closest thing I have to family here.
Yeah. Well, that's because yeah, as I said, like everyone is family in a sense. And even if we disagree, even if we don't really like them or whatever, like we still know that they matter. Everyone matters. And so why treat someone like an outcast if, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't matter, as long as, because the whole thing about Christmas is like that's when Jesus is celebrated to be born. We know he wasn't really born on Christmas Day, but
Yeah.
that's when we celebrate it. And the whole point of Christmas is to celebrate Jesus. And to do that, like, I think part of our family even knows, like, even the parts that are more atheist, they still recognize, like, the importance of treating each other, like, treating family and stuff like that, treating each other well, and taking care of those we can and helping those we can, because that's what Jesus would want us to do, and that's what it comes down to is how we end up treating others, how we end up treating like family versus friends and stuff like that. And like there really shouldn't be that big of a difference.
Yeah, like I was saying at the beginning of the, earlier in the episode, is I haven't really got anything for Christmas in a few years, which that's not a big deal to me. One of our mutual friends asked me the other day what I want for Christmas, and I'm like, you don't need to get me anything, and they were like, what do you want? I'm gonna just wing it. I'm like, no, seriously, you don't need to get me anything, because I don't know, because you were saying I'm not allowed to get anyone anything. So like, if I can't get anything, if I can't give anything, I don't want anything because I feel weird.
Just receive.
Yeah, if I feel weird getting things if I can't. Okay, I got one person something, and I don't even know if I'll be able to give it to her in person. I bought it was something cheap too that Emery didn't even disagree with. Their niece that we are talking about earlier, Nora, she's about to turn 4, and she's like the most precious thing ever, and she loves mini M and M's. I got her a big bag of mini M and M's. So again, like you said, Christmas is about her. Like whenever she like, and so like she's the one person I bought something for.
Yeah. I mean, I understand that feeling of like, oh, I didn't give anything, so I shouldn't receive anything. And because of the type of person we are, you and I feel like we need to learn to be able to receive because we're always trying to give, you know? And so I think like we're respecting you're not asking for anything, just like that, but we did want to get you something mostly because, you know, just because you can't give anything a certain year doesn't mean that you can't receive. Because you can always give another time. You know, it comes around. It doesn't always have to be at the exact same time. It doesn't have to always be because of a holiday, even. Like, just spontaneous giving is enough sometimes. And I know that like, for me, I like to use the holidays as an excuse to give.
You do it anyway.
I do it anyway, but I love, like, the excuse to be like, oh, no, but now I have to do it, even though I don't really have to.
Yeah.
It's just, like, I have more of an excuse to, like, give someone something, and they can't be like, what is this for? You know?
Yeah. It's like that's the type of person Emery is. Like they'll randomly gift something. Like there's been times where like they like they buy something random. I'm like, why are you getting that? And they're like, oh, I'm sending this to this friend, and I'm like, oh yay, because that's just who they are.
Yeah, I mean, I may not have much to be able to give, but I still try to do what I can, you know, and I feel like that's what this world really needs sometimes is just other people to be like, hey, I see you, and this is how I see you. And learning people's love languages, and sometimes it's not through gift giving. So I recognize that. I just actually, now that I think about it, I don't even know what your love language is specifically. I think it's quality time. But
yeah, I like personal intimacy, but not like physical intimacy. Like it's okay. So like I've said did an episode on asexuality. Like I like spending time with people. Like we spent a lot of time together the last couple days, and it's been amazing. Um, like I do, I okay. Like I don't think I've ever told you this. Um, but like I do, even though I don't do like like the physical thing because of the whole asexual thing, I do think like physical intimacy is important. Though I usually don't say it like that because people automatically assume like
sexual.
yes, and so like um yeah, I don't know how to. You know how I mean. I'm sure you've noticed how I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, like, and it's so complicated for me because I'm like, someone's like, oh, so your love language is gifts? I'm like, no, my love language is, like, my outward love language is giving gifts and, you know, sometimes acts of service or things like that. It's less so of,
Getting.
like, yeah, my receiving love language is quality time, not gifts, not physical touch, like, things like that. It just, so, like, learning little things like that is really helpful. So, you know, I think it's important to know, like, how people receive love the best and meet them there.
Yeah, that's I never noticed that. Like you said, like your receiving is quality time, and I like the whole quality time thing. So like that, yeah, it's probably why we have so much fun together.
But also giving. Like,
Giving.
my giving love language is different, and that's why.
Yeah, and so that yeah. Um. So like I was saying, like with the whole like physical intimacy, I can't really do that too many times. Meh. I can't spoke. Like okay, so like I don't like being touched, but I like
Sometimes, like, a hug here
yeah,
nice.
yeah, like I'm a hugger, and so like I like to hug people, and like I'm trying to. I don't know how to word this without it sounding weird.
Well, just don't then.
Okay, but like you know what I like. You've noticed
Yes.
what I. Okay, so like yeah, because like if there have been times when like I feel close to someone and I'm like and like we're like watching a movie or something like that, and then I'll just like put my hand on their arm or something like that, and there's like stuff coming onto me, and like I'm not coming onto you. That's just yeah.
Yeah. I think that's hard because that, like, even if they recognize that you're not coming onto them, it can be uncomfortable, honestly. Like, I know for me, because I'm not fond of, like, physical touch.
Yeah. Like,
That's why, like, I kind of, like, try to move away a little bit. And it has nothing to do with, like,
I
feeling like,
know.
you know, it's just, like, I'm not comfortable with being touched, like, in general. Like putting, like, someone putting their hand on my shoulder, that makes me kind of uncomfortable, or they come behind me, that makes me super, like, freaked out, honestly.
And I have noticed that, like, so, like, I've kind of adapted. Like, the other day when we were sitting down watching videos, like, instinctively, I, like, because we were sitting close, I wanted to put my arm around you, but not as, like, a romantic thing, just, like, because we're close and all that. So I did, but I didn't, like, around your shoulders. I, like, put it on the cushion. So it was, like, yeah, it was kind of, like, a compromise in a way. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like I did all the shoulder thing. Like sometimes like when I can tell you're down and I'm trying to comfort you, I'll lay a hand on your shoulder or something like that. It's like a comforting thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't like that?
Not always.
Okay.
Like, sometimes I'm okay with it, but other times I'm just like, no, don't touch me.
Yeah, like I don't do it that often. It's just like when I can tell you're really down.
Yeah, but even then, I'm just like,
Yeah.
um, I don't know. This has been an interesting experience overall.
Yeah.
I feel like, I have seen, like, I just want to say, like, in the time that you've been here, I've seen you grow a lot. And I know that you haven't been here that long and stuff like that. And I know that there's things you're still working on and
Wednesday
everything.
will be 6 months exactly that I've been here.
Yeah. So even with that, like just knowing that you've made as much as you have changes in your life, I'm so excited for next year and how, as you move on and you move into your new apartment, hopefully, and all the other stuff, because I'm just speaking that into existence. You're getting that apartment, like, you are. I want to speak that into existence because, you deserve to have a place and you shouldn't have to live in a hostel, but we can't keep you here anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, like, no, that.
Also, before people take that the wrong way, that was the plan all along. Like they're not kicking me out. That was the plan. I was planning when 6 months was like staying to the end of the year. I do have an apartment. I was gonna wait and announce that when I move, but thanks, Emery. But yeah, like we're looking at an apartment, and I'm meeting with the person on Wednesday, which is the 6 months of me moving here, and it looks like that I will be able to move shortly after the first, which they're okay with. But it's like at least I have something arranged, and I'm not like waiting till after the first.
Yeah. So but anyways, I just really look forward to seeing, like, how you grow in this next year, both, like, spiritually as well as emotionally, because I've, like, it's the way you are exhibit yourself. It's just different than when you first got here, and I know you're still a lot uncomfortable a lot of times at church because it's.
I have gotten better at that too. Like I've even when I first started going to this church, like first I wouldn't sing, and not just because like I didn't feel like singing, I didn't feel comfortable singing. A lot of them were songs I didn't know, and now I've gotten to know some of them. I feel comfortable. I've started singing, and also like there's a lot more. I don't think I've ever been to a church with this many people.
And this active.
And
so active.
Oh, and it's a Pentecostal church. I did an episode on that on the other podcast. So yeah, no one listening to this will know what I'm talking about. But anyway, so like I have whenever we decorated at the church recently, and it's the first time I actually did something with the church. And I actually got to know, there's a couple people there I've actually slowly gotten to know, and they were like so impressed to see me there helping, and I actually got to know several people doing that, and it actually because of my inner I used to not like kids. They used to freak me out, but I think I've slowly warmed up to them over the years, and without even realizing it. And I was like interacting with some of the kids to the point where like some of the leadership was like, "You want to volunteer with the kids?" And I didn't immediately say no or no at all. I was like, let me think about it.
Yeah, something that I know this is kind of off topic, but like I was talking with about the Pentecostal church and stuff like that, and how people do consider it to be more demonic or whatever, like because that's what you grew up with, for example, is
Yes.
that like the Pentecostal church is evil and all this stuff. But we think of it as like the Pentecostals are basically the neurodivergents of the church. Like if you think about it, because it doesn't follow.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that we eventually do our second podcast together because we have we've been planning on doing our own separate podcast that where Emery isn't a guest, they're the co-host, and we just haven't had time. But so like currently, I don't know if we're ever actually going to do it, but it's fun to talk about that we're going to do it. And at one point, we're going to do an episode on that. I grew up in a Church of Christ, and where everything, it's a cappella, they sing monotone. The preacher is up on the podium, standing still, not really moving. And then it cut to Pentecostal church where, everyone's running up and down the aisle and speaking in tongues. And
we're not running up and down the aisle.
Okay, there's one person I saw running. There was that one church I went to. That was my first experience with Pentecostal church. It was Brad invited me to his church. It was Pentecostal, and I didn't know what it was. I'm like, oh, it's Pentecostal, whatever. And the guy on stage at the beginning goes, "Let us pray." I bowed my head. Everyone starts screaming. People running up and down the aisle, throwing themselves on the steps, and I'm screaming, and I'm just like, "What's going on?" And it just felt like, looking back, it just felt so theatrical. Like they weren't being genuine. And at the church we're at now, like they do that, but it's less theatrical. They feel genuine. Like it's different. I think if I hadn't had that experience, I probably would have been a little more freaked out by this. But like because when Emery says it's a Pentecostal church, I was like, oh, one of those. So like I went in with that expectation, and then so like when they said let us pray, like everyone started, they started talking, like everyone started, praying out loud, and there wasn't the same. Like there were people speaking in tongues, and everyone was talking, but it wasn't theatrical at all. And I'm slowly getting comfortable with it. I probably won't be jumping up and down anytime soon. That freaked me out, Emery, because you're usually so reserved. And then like the first time I went to the church with them, and they started singing, the song started playing, and they started jumping up and down next to me. I'm like, whoa, where's this Emery coming from?
Yeah, neurodivergent church. But no, seriously,
The
like
Church of the Neurodivergent.
yeah, but part of that is because initially I was uncomfortable with it too. Like I would just stand there and be like, "What?" But then I kind of learned too that like that action of just like pushing all in to worship and like forcing into it like that, it helps a lot, and it's actually biblically like
Yeah.
something that they say to do, and people don't do it because it would look weird, or like it's just something about it that like
socially unacceptable.
It's socially unacceptable, yeah. So, but for there, like at GT, I'm just like, I'm so glad that I had that faith community, that I was able to grow, that I was able to grow into my worship and my spiritual life so much better than I was before. Like I was terrified when I first went to that church too, just like you. Like I was just like, what is happening? Why is this so loud? What's with all this stuff? Like, why is it so loud? Like, you know.
Yeah. And I noticed you put the earplugs in, and you don't like loud noises to begin with, and I just assumed it was because of that. And like the first few times I went, I actually it was kind of loud for me, and I could feel like my eardrums vibrating. But I was like, "This is part of it. I'll get used to it." But I never did. I have a pair of Raycon earbuds, and now when we go before we walk in, I just put them in and don't play music. It does help, and like sometimes when I'm not wearing them, and there'll be people up on the stage like yelling into the mic.
It's hard to process.
And yeah, like it's too loud. I hear, and so like then I put the earbuds in, and it kind of like, tones it down, and I can understand them sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the faith community that we're in right now. Like,
Yes.
they're amazing people, and I just,
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I just remembered something like kind of like going along with what you said. Like even though I've only been there a few times, like I feel like they actually care. Like, I miss. We went to church this Sunday, and there's somebody I always talk to, Vanessa, but like she was busy, and we didn't actually get to talk. And so like we were in the living room later playing Animal Crossing, and then she randomly calls and goes, "I'm so sorry, I missed you earlier." And she like we caught up over the phone, and it's like that was kind of impressive to me is like she actually cared enough because like to call and check on me because we didn't get to talk we always do, which that was I already loved it there, but that was just like a huge thing to me.
yeah, I I just feel like it is a real genuine community, you know? Like, I know that probably there is still gossip and stuff like that every
Oh
now
yeah.
and then. There's like all the stuff that, like, you know, but it's not as bad, I don't
Oh
think,
yeah.
compared to like some other places. Like, the church I grew up in, they love to moku 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 all the time. Like, that means like complain. So they'd always be complaining, oh, this is like too loud, or like, oh, the pastor does this or that. I don't like it. And then as soon as that pastor left, oh, I wish they were here, like the like this pastor doesn't do like this like the way the other pastor did, and all these different things. Like, they were never
that would get
happy.
exhausting.
But I mean, like, they still cared a lot, and like, you know, it was just like hard
It was
because
like, overshadowed by the gossip.
it was
Yeah.
it was like it was always like the older people too that did that. Like,
Yeah, that makes sense.
so, but I mean, yeah, I just feel like GT is very loving, and even though, like, yes, the church has hurt people, yes, the church has been the cause of like others walking away, I just I'm just glad that I'm still there, that like we can be part of that helps heal those parts that hurt others, you know?
Oh, this specific church?
Yeah,
Okay.
in general. But yeah.
I don't really. I kind of know like what happened before. I mean I don't think we should get into it in an episode, but like I know enough that like it there is I could tell like because I know what happened. I could tell there's some healing going on. But like overall like you can't really tell like because it's again it's such a welcoming community. Like if I had I can kind of relate it to Grace Baptist in Ohio, where I'm from. The what that oh yeah, I needed Grace Baptist to transition into the Pentecostal church because if I had gone from Church of Christ to this, I probably would have not probably not have lasted. So the Baptist church kind of loosened me up and opened my mind and heart and everything to this. But while I was there, at like about because I was in Ohio for 7.5 years, and about halfway through, there was a big split. The pastor left for not for like any negative reasons. He had, he got called to he felt called to a different church, and he left on very good terms. It's just everyone saw it as his church, and it was his. And so when he left, so did half the church, including like all but one of the deacons and the sound guy, and like, and so it was a big big blow to that church. And so like, and even when I left, when I first moved there were 30 members. And when I left my last Sunday, there were 5 of us. And I made it 4 because I left. So yeah, we still had healing to do there from that. And so I think because I went through that, I can sense it here. And part of me wishes I had been there before so I can like really, because our mutual, whose name I don't say, but you said, because she said not to say her name.
Whoops.
Yeah, I'm gonna edit it out.
Okay.
And so when she talks about it, I'm like, I wish I had been there so I can feel her, like the story behind it. And had I been here at the time, I would have like that shared experience.
Yeah.
Like trauma helps people grow together. And I'm just kind of, even now, like I feel like an outsider, like, because like everyone has all these shared experiences from everything that happened, and I'm just over here like, hi, let me join. And so, yeah.
I mean, we don't want that for you, though. You know,
I know.
But either way, I just want to say once again, like, how grateful I am for all of this, and I think we should probably start closing up.
Yeah.
So, I hope everyone has a lovely Christmas or whatever you celebrate. You know, just remember that you are loved, you matter, and you know, you're not alone in all of this.
And okay, you basically said everything. You actually said it better than I was going to say, like Merry Christmas and all of that. So, I will, before I address the audience, I just want to say thank you for joining and for everything. I think everyone who listens, if they listen to all of these episodes and they know Emery from the past episodes, this is like our most personal episode together. We promised each other we wouldn't do this.
I didn't promise that. You wanted that.
No, I said let's keep it lighthearted. Let's not get too serious. But then we did twice, and so I think now the audience has like an idea of why you've earned the best friend title. Like, we could do like a 5-hour episode on that story, but I don't think we'll ever do that episode. I don't think we want to do that episode. We don't even talk about that era. So I will just say, thank you for everything, including coming on here. And with that,
Have a good